Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we'll take a look at all things commercial real estate with a true subject matter expert. Her story just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show. I don't know about you, but when I think about real estate, I often think about residential real estate. It's the stuff that gets the headlines every night on the news. You know, our home sales up, down, sideways. But commercial real estate can often be more interesting. And to talk about that today, Kimberly Lloyd. She is a commercial real estate agent with Huggins Realty. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Now, I want to start with your background because we both grew up in Michigan, and we've
Yes.
had a wonderful time this last hour just sharing memories of Michigan. But you worked for GM.
Yes, I did. I actually started out summer help on the assembly line. So I was on the engine line putting parts in. I did that for several summers and then went on for per diem, went into management as a spare parts manager. So I was a manager in Michigan with that position for 14, 15 years. And then I transferred to the Arlington assembly plant in General Motors a few years ago. So I've been here about 7 years, 6, 7 years. And then I took a big leap of faith and went into commercial real estate.
Well, one of the things you told me before the show was very interesting because you were on the tenant side of warehouses. Yes. So talk about that.
Yes, I didn't realize it until I got into real estate, commercial real estate, and I was really drawn to commercial because of the aspect of the business side of it and working with clients and manufacturing and different types of properties. And I realized, oh my goodness, for 15 years, I had been the tenant. So I had offsite warehouse, and with that warehouse, every 3 years, the agent would come around. We'd talk about the building. Is it a good fit? Do we need to, expand? Do we need to move? The base unit prices, all kinds of stuff we would go through. And so I already had years of that experience, and I was able to bring that over with the commercial real estate and understand the tenant side.
And I think that's so important for you and how successful you are to be able to identify with the client because you were a tenant for so many years.
Yes, and some of the things that I had to do was all those years was learn about base unit and triple nets and tenant improvements and what needs to be done with the building and zoning. And there's a lot that goes into commercial real estate. And a lot of times folks come on board and they're not really sure. They're just kind of groping and figuring it out, and I'll just sign this lease. And that's not always a good thing. And so I take them through the process, step by step, walk them through, really explain to them what's going on and how it affects them and their business.
I think if we just talked to people on the street and said, tell me about commercial real estate, they would say, oh, office buildings or maybe shopping centers.
Yep, retail.
But some of the things that you specialize in is the stuff that doesn't get a lot of headlines. One of the projects that caught my eye is an airplane hangar. Tell us about that.
Yes, this is an exciting project. This one is a McKinney, Texas, 8 airplane hangars, and what we call a portfolio property. So you have to purchase all 8 of them at once. And this is an investment feature. So we already have them leased out. And really, it's a long-term investment. So if you think about the area in Dallas-Fort Worth, there's a lot of different pockets. And these are smaller airplanes. So there's HOAs, there's different ones. And a lot of folks around here have airplanes. So they need a place to store them, to keep them from any damage or anything like that from the weather and what have you.
It seems like mailbox money to me because there can't be a lot of maintenance in a hangar.
No, that is the great thing about industrial property. If you think about it, it has the one shell, a restroom, maybe an office. This one doesn't. This just has the restroom. It is completely wide open. You put your plane in there and you store it, and it's good to go until the next time you want to use it. There's not a lot to it. So yes, it's an investment, great for an investor, because all he does is she leases it out. They use it when they need it, and there's not a lot of movement. So yes.
Okay, let's look at some others. What are we looking at here?
This is a manufacturing facility, and with manufacturing, you have several things that come into play. And when I start out with my clients, the first, things that we talk about is, what are your business needs? What's your footprint, your square feet? How does your product flow in and flow out? Where your machining part's going to be. You have the raw materials, it goes into the machine, it comes out. You have this other finished product. Do you need a grade level, semi-dock level? What areas do you need in Dallas and Fort Worth? Do you need it near the airport? And so we go through these different things about manufacturing, even office and retail, and what the business needs are, and how I can help you find those needs and find that property. We go through the property. I give you a whole bunch of lists and a whole bunch of things and what's going out there. We talk about the budget and what fits your budget. We talk about base rent, triple nets. Every single landlord has a different way, whether it's OpEx, triple nets, modified gross. So I explain that to my client and how it works and how that property works. Maybe they're paying electricity separately. And we go through that. We go through a letter of intent. An LOI is what it's called, and I write it up for them. So I do everything so they can concentrate on their business, because they're running a business. They have employees, they have work that needs to be done, and so I am in the background doing the other work for them, and then bringing it to them and saying, hey, this is what we have. What would you like to tour? What would you like to see? How can I help you with your timing? Things like that. Then we go through to the lease agreement, and this is for triple nets. This is for leases. Buying and purchasing is a little different, but it's still the same basic concepts with looking for the property, finding the business needs, executing the contract, and then that final move-in day.
Yes.
And remember, with move-in, you're moving a major facility to a new one. Let's say you're upgrading or changing locations. Maybe you're doing a new facility and you're going to have 2 locations. But you need to move some things, raw materials, what have you. And so we go through that, and I get you the help that you need, give you some resources, which my vendor list, and help you through that so you can be successful.
Let's look at the next picture.
Yes, this is called industrial flex space. So we have the industrial space that is purely industrial, like the semi-trucks come up to it. And it's 50, 1,000, really large spaces. And then we have the smaller spaces, which essential goods really took a lot of them up. That's where we're seeing a lack of. So it has a grade level door. It has enough for storage. Maybe it's 1,500 square feet, 3,000 square feet. A lot of times there's not an office or very little one, because really they're looking at, where do I store my goods in a safe place area where I can get to them. I can, be able to go back and forth and have movement.
Outstanding. And we've got one more picture.
Yes, I often find myself with automotive. This one here was actually through another agent, and her and I have worked together many a times. And also, you think about it, since 2020, we've seen automotive just skyrocket in all different areas of automotive, from used car sales to mechanics to body shops. I've had them all. And recently I've had one. He's a new car parts, and we started out in 2020 when everything happened, and we stopped. And he was like, I'm going from 1,500 square feet to 5,000. Should I do this? We had to really work through that together, because it's a big deal and a big jump. So we worked at, what does he need for racking? What does he need for the in and out door? He needed a ramp for one door. How do we make this work for his business? Because he wasn't real sure at that time, we really didn't know what was going to happen. And we started having all the parts logistics. And just probably 2 weeks ago, I met up with him and I said, how are you doing? How's it going? Thinking to myself, am I going to have to sublease you? What's going on here?
Right.
How are you? And he said, this was the best move I've made. Wow. This works perfect. I've been able to expand and grow. Because remember, his business was already growing. He was already bursting at the seams. But he also had only this type of top property that we looked at the grade level. He needed the semi-dock level. And there were some needs as a business he needed. And so this allowed him to expand, to grow, and grow into the market, because his, car parts are just all over the place. It's really expanded, increased inventory, And he was very happy. So that made me really happy. I was like, yes.
All right, I know you circle yourself with a bunch of very smart people, bankers, other real estate agents. What is everybody saying about interest rates and where we're headed?
So this is interesting. One of the things that I noticed is, as talking with other agents, we receive the CoStar reports and other things, and it says this is what's happening in the industry. And then we look at ourselves with what we're experiencing with our clients, and then we talk to each other. No, I'm hearing this, I'm seeing that, and we go back and forth. Well, one of the things another agent and I were talking about is for sales and purchases. And this is industrial property, so it's on fire. And he had some, and he said, my lease rate is the 2020 rate. So just to put you in perspective, normally a lease term is 3 to 5 years. Okay, so you get locked into this lease agreement, 3 to 5 years. And 2020 started, okay, you got 3 years and it's a different lease rate. Now the leases have gone up. Well, also the price of the building has gone up. So when you look at the lease rate, because you're looking at cap rate, NOI, you're looking at different factors. Does your debt service match the lease? Because you got to pay your bills as an owner investor. And he said, I'm really having a difficult time trying to figure this out and make this work. He says, I haven't had this happen before where it's such a big jump. Yes. And so we had talked about that, and I had the same experiences, and talked about, okay, if an investor has a 1031, if they have cash, if they have other creative financing, then this will work because we know things will continue to climb. We also know that 3 years or even 2 years, if they were able to get that, is going to be up next summer. And we know that the opportunity for the big R recession will probably last until 2023, maybe midsummer. And so are they going to lose that opportunity window? Yes. So we're looking at that. And the interesting thing is I had breakfast with a banker friend of mine, great guy, and I asked him, I said, what's going on? What do you see? And he had said the same thing, in essence, with some other agents I was talking to. And what I was experiencing is we're now starting to see, especially in industrial, the prices start it's stopping. It's starting to be stagnant. It's not growing so fast. It was, the property maybe was $2 million and now it's 3 and 4 and 5 and it just keeps growing. It's like leveling off, which is a good thing for the investor to jump in and be able to buy that property.
So we have about a minute left. Final thoughts and words of encouragement for the people who are thinking about making a big career change like you did and like I did.
Yes. Well, I want to just encourage everyone, encourage you. I made the change from a corporate life to real estate, completely different worlds, but yet they still matched. And take that risk. It's worth it. I am extremely happy. I know you are.
Absolutely.
Finding your dream, finding your vision, and experiencing that and being able to live that life is so worth it. I just want to encourage you to do what your dream is, what your heart is, what you want to do in life, instead of staying in that. Maybe it's a different 9 to 5, but staying in that job that you've been in, like me, for 25 years, and you were raised and you grew up in it, and it's all you knew, to something completely different, outside of my comfort zone. But that was what I needed to do to grow, learn, get happy again, and expand. So I want to encourage folks to do that.
I could talk to you all day. Look, we're gonna end with your website, which is huggins-realty.com. Kimberly Lloyd, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.